Alright, true believers, Elite Legend back in the house, ready to take a look at a very much anticipated figure, a very much anticipated update to the Marvel Legends shelf. It is none other than Professor X. Now here we see Professor X inside of the packaging. He comes in the brand new Legendary Riders Wave. As you see, the hover chair is behind him. He has some cool add-ins that we'll take a look at in just a moment. Take a look at his vintage green suit. And I am so pumped up to have this figure. I got it a little bit earlier than I expected when I made my pre-order on Amazon. But that's okay with Elite Legend. So let's go ahead and take this guy out of the packaging. But first, let's take a look at the back and the side of the packaging as well. Now here you see the top of the packaging. We see the X-Men logo. On the side of the packaging, we see Professor X in his hover chair using his psionic powers. And now you see the back of the packaging. You can see over to the right, you see Professor X. You see his psionic powers that were packed in. You see some of the details that are featured on the hover chair that we'll take a look at once we bust this guy out of the packaging. Over to the left, you see a read-up. Basically, you can pause it if you want to see it. I'll read it along with you guys. Professor Charles Xavier, better known as Professor X, is a highly gifted telepath and scientific genius who develops the cerebral device to aid in the ability to control and manipulate psionic abilities. Similar to how Baby Kingpin has been able to develop a device that allows Baby Kingpin to travel from place to place and be able to utilize her psionic abilities. Pop Mama calls it a stroller. I call it a psionic device designed to manipulate psionic abilities. If you look over to the left a bit more, you'll also see the other figure that's a part of the Legendary Riders Wave. It's oh no, and we see Coco the cat has just jumped in. Professor X used psionic abilities to try and lure in some breakfast today. Professor X, you are not Alf. So now, without further ado, let's go ahead and bust this guy open. Now, I know you guys are anticipating getting a look at this figure outside of the packaging, but beforehand, let's take a look at the inside of this package. And it is sick. Here, you can faintly pick it up, but you see Storm here in the middle. You see Wolverine. You see Cyclops. You see Jubilee here. And I can't really make it out. It's John Gray. And also another shot of Wolverine unmasked. Up here you see Rogue. So see if you could pick that up. See Wolverine, Jubilee. So just wanted to point that out. That's a pretty cool insert. Now you guys know that Elite Legend is a open collector. However, I love the packaging of this guy so much that I might want to have a second set just to keep it mint on card. Alright, and now we see Professor X out of the package with everything that he came stockpiled into the Legendary Riders box. So now, one thing that I want to point out, when you're taking this out of the packaging, you want to be very careful. The hover chair the plastic is a little brittle, so when you're popping the tabs off of there, you want to be very careful. You also want to be careful when you're removing these psionic powers. Some of those have small parts. They could pop off, be stolen by the cat, and inadvertently ingested by your children. So now we're going to go ahead and put this together. But first, let's admire Professor X as he's standing here. You see him in his green suit. There have been times where we have seen Professor X have the ability to walk. But there you see the most powerful psychic, not known as Miss Cleo, in all of his glory. You see Shadow King lurking in the shadows there, quite appropriately. Now let's go ahead and put this thing together. All right, so we're going to go ahead and give this a go and put this together right here live on camera. So you just simply take these two pieces, you snap them right in together, just like if you're snapping a Slim Jim. You don't hear it pop, but it's in there. You take this little, well, first you take the seat back. You just insert this in here. Take the seat, pop it in there. See, he has a cool little blanket and everything. Incredible amount of detail on that blanket. Incredible amount of detail on the seat. But we'll take a closer look at it when this is all assembled. I'm going to take his... This is kind of his levitation effect. Now, in the comic books and in the cartoon, you just see him freely gliding. But to give it a little bit of oomph here, they give you this so you can display it if you'd like or use it for something else. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and put Professor X in his chair. So we have that built. Take a look at that. Over on the side, you see these circuit board there. Some circuitry. Look at the back. Great detail. It looks like it could pop together a little bit more, but it does not. Would have been cool if that would have been painted a bit, or at least a little bit of a dry brushing, but not a stickler. I am very satisfied with this figure, especially for the price point. $39 is not bad. You're getting a figure and a vehicle. Very cool indeed. Here we see Professor X standing next to his beautiful glider or hover chair. Now let's go ahead and put Professor X in his chair. Now here we see the founder of Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, which Elite Legend is a graduate of. This is a beautiful, beautiful figure and an amazing upgrade over the previously released by Marvel, the previous released Marvel Legend Professor Xavier figure, which was part of the Galactus Build-A-Figure wave way back in 2004. We'll take a look at that figure in just a moment, but this is simply amazing. I cannot stress enough how beautiful this figure is. Let's take a look at it on the side. Look at it from behind. Love that translucent effect over at the bottom there. What's really cool about this is he does have these panels that open up. Take a closer look at those. You see, it's a computer, a mouse, keyboard. Very, very, very cool figure. All right, so for those of you who are not familiar with Professor X, he does have a very interesting backstory. Now, those of you, some of you may remember him as the old guy from X-Men. He is the founder of Xavier's Academy for Gifted Mutants. He is a master psychic, telepathy, psionic abilities, very similar to those of Baby Kingpin, but we'll leave that for another episode. However, Professor X, very powerful. You all know his nemesis Magneto, and Magneto and Professor X, while later on in the storylines they become friends. However, initially they were designed to portray or to kind of embody or to resemble Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King. Obviously, Professor X was designed to be similar to that of Martin Luther King, kind of turn the other cheek, use of non-violence means to get to where you want to be, to reach that equality that you long for and that you dream about. On the other hand, Magneto was on the other end of the spectrum, and he wanted that respect, he wanted that equality by any means necessary. So very contrasting sides of the spectrum there. So Professor X made his debut way back in 1963, September of 1963, in the very first issue of X-Men. Now you guys know that Elite Legend loves to have comic books with his Marvel Legends. So let's take a look. I wish I had the first issue of X-Men. I do not. So let's take a look at a comic book from 1991 that features Magneto and Professor X. This was issue number 2 of X-Men. How 90s is this? They were celebrating their 30th anniversary here. So Magneto at this time and Professor X, they were 28 years old in the comics, comic-wise. And now we see them side by side for the very first time. We see Professor X from the 2004 Toy Biz Galactus Build-A-Figure wave. He is in his wheelchair. And now on the left, obviously, we see the brand new Legendary Riders Magneto in his hover chair. He has his little psionic helmet on. He has that blast effect that looks like he is very, very excited to be in this video. So now, one of the dilemmas that Elite Legend has, I love Toy Biz, I love Marvel Legends, I love them so much, I always have a hard time when it comes to deciding whether or not the newer Hasbro release is going to replace the Toy Biz version on my shelf. This is a no-brainer. Without a doubt, the brand new Legendary Rider version is going to replace this Professor X on my shelf. So, a moment of silence for Professor X. It's been a great time having you, but until next time, sayonara, my friend. Now you guys may be wondering, why is the Kingpin in this video? I'll tell you why. Because we're going to need his body for just a moment. Why is the Kingpin in this video? I'll tell you why. We're going to need his body for just a moment. Oh, Kingpin is not happy about that. But listen, Kingpin, if you play nice, I might help you find Vanessa. So there you see it. We see that beautiful, or maybe not so beautiful, head scan of Shadow King that came packed in with Professor X. Very fittingly, because if you recall, Shadow King is a nemesis of Kingpin. He was part of issue number 117 of the Uncanny X-Men way back in 1979. And the cool thing is that's the comic that actually came packed in with Professor X during the Toy Biz days. So here we see you can simply pop that head off and you have Shadow King. What I don't like is how I would have liked to have a Shadow King standalone figure. However, it's pretty cool that they do give us his head and they give us possibilities and the opportunity to buy another Kingpin Build-A-Figure, which will probably land Elite Legend in timeout, so to speak. So for right now, I'm gonna use this for Shadow King, and I will continue to use the beautiful Toy Biz Face-Off edition of Kingpin in my display, which was kind of a compromise because it's very hard for me to remove that Kingpin from my display. I really love that figure. And here we see Shadow King about to attack Professor X. So thank you guys for stopping by. Thank you for continuing to support the channel. Make sure to continue to make yours Marvel just like I make mine Marvel all the time. Remember, we are upon the celebration of Pokemon, and Papa Mama is going to be doing a very special video for you guys, so keep an eye out. Make sure you check out Pop Mama, and until next time, make mine Marvel. Smash that like button, subscribe, and continue to collect what you love.